Hey everybody, John Felt here. This is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing for September 8th. Over the next couple weeks, I'm going to modify my briefings a bit, and you might see them a little bit different format. I don't easily have some video production capability that I usually have, but I don't think you'll notice a whole lot of difference. Anyway, it looks like across the country we are going to have some temperature changes this week. Areas that have been unusually cool and thinking fall's has arrived are going to go back to summer conditions. We'll be watching the tropics as well. So we take a look at what the possible hazards are this week. Well, we have some areas that are going to continue to have drought emergence. We have some areas where there's a fire danger. We have a couple areas with the potential for some heavy rain and flooding, and that's due to some tropical weather potential in the Gulf of Mexico. And I'll be talking about those as we go through the briefing. Now, last week, most of the nation was awful quiet as far as rain, but parts of Texas, the Gulf Coast, off the southeast coast, there was some heavier rain, 1 to 3 inches, locally even a little bit more. But overall, most of the nation pretty quiet. Now, it definitely feels like a touch of fall this weekend over the central U.S. Take a look at the temperatures this morning, in the 40s in many areas, and these were either record or near record lows in a number of spots. Those are those blue dots. So if you're in that area, you're probably thinking, okay, fall has arrived. Well, stay tuned because it's going to feel a little bit more like summer as we go through the week. So the departure from normal as far as temperatures go, anything in that darker green or blue had some really nice weather with temperatures 2 to 6 degrees below normal over the last week. Now the Pacific Northwest and parts of the western U.S., you can see 6 to 10 degrees above normal in those areas, especially Washington State, parts of Montana, and parts of California were unusually hot last week. Now the hottest temperatures last week, those areas in yellow made it above 95, so Washington State and Oregon above 95, parts of the plains above 95. Then we get into the desert southwest. You might have noticed I put out that Phoenix has been hitting a record now well over 100 days, consecutive days above 100 degrees. And last week was no exception, above 110, so it's sort of a brutally hot summer for an area that's already quite hot. Now, areas that had some chilly weather are those areas in purple. Those are 30s. Areas in blue are locations that drop down into the 40s. It's been a while since we've seen a dew point map like this. Very stable air mass over almost the entire nation. Even South Texas, that usually has dew points in the 70s, has now dropped into the 60s. So if you want to find some humidity or some moisture, some higher dew points, I don't think many people do at the end of summer. But if you do, you have to go down to the Florida Peninsula where dew points are still in the mid-70s. Rivers are pretty quiet. We have some flooding along the North Gulf Coast due to some heavy rain and parts of Florida and the mid-Atlantic. Many other areas are running quite dry. And if you look at some of the main stem rivers, you can see that trend for these hydrographs on, say, for the Ohio and lower Mississippi. They're getting close to the brown range here, and that is a low flow. That starts to be where there could be some river transportation issues. Dredging is needed. Port operations might be impacted. So I think we're going to be seeing that a little bit more unless we change this pattern. So right now what we have is an amplified flow, and I tell you, I put a post out on that last week because I'm very interested in this. But this amplified or wobbly jet stream is something that research has indicated some linkage with climate change. And normally this time of year we have a lazy jet stream sort of going along the upper mid U.S. or Canada, sort of real lazy, weak jet stream. But we still have an amplified jet stream here with a bowing north in the west. That's associated with the warm weather, sagging south in the east, and that's associated with the colder weather. But that's going to flip-flop as we go through the week. That high is going to shift to the east. That's going to bring warmer weather, and that low is going to affect the west and bring some welcome cooler weather. Now, what's this down here? Well, that could be a tropical system. So what do we have here as far as temperatures? Well, take a look. You can see the flip-flop. The upper Midwest, where those record temperatures were, the 30s, the 40s, by the middle of the week, it is going to be quite warm. And then by the middle of September and even late September, we're going to see above normal temperatures just about everywhere. So that taste of fall, it looks like it's going to go back to another summer type feeling. And look at the heat index by Thursday. This is level 2, moderate, this orange. So North and South Dakota, other areas, it's going to go right back to feeling like summer. Let's take a look at the tropics. Well, a couple systems out there. These are unsettled weather in the Gulf. Here's a little something. Here's a little something. These systems are coming off of Africa. My first impression when I see those, they look pretty wimpy. And that's saying there's something in the atmosphere that's making that atmosphere stable. It's not allowing them vertical motion to develop. And that's what we've had so far during this peak of the hurricane season. And a lot of scratching of heads of why that is, because other factors are very favorable, such as sea surface temperatures. But there's overall stability. Now that could change really quick, but right now it looks like it's inhibiting development, or at least making it pretty slow. That said, over the next 7 days, there is a pretty good chance of some development of that system way out in the Atlantic, and there's a better chance here. This system here in the Gulf could very well form into a tropical depression or tropical storm and drift up to the north. Remember in that satellite picture, it looked pretty didn't look organized as far as any rotation, but it did have quite a bit of cluster of showers and storms. So that does mean that we're going to get some heavy rain along the southeast Texas coast, Houston, for example, and then spreading up to the north here, and that could bring some welcome rain in spots because this is very dry up here, but that's a ways off. We'll see how that pans out. Other than that, look how much of the country next week looks really quiet, really dry. So overall, I think many areas are going to see that change in temperature, but weather-wise, it looks pretty quiet. And taking a look at week 2, or actually the next maybe 6-10 day into the 8 to 14 day range, you can see that warm air settles in over large parts of the nation. Areas that are going to be cooler will be the Pacific Northwest and parts of the western U.S., and you can take a look at precipitation, the bottom graphs there for your area. That's this week's weather briefing. I hope it helps you in your planning, and I will be talking with you again, at least providing a briefing for you next weekend. Take care.